Nathan stared at the text message on his phone, his hands trembling. I only agreed to date you because my friends dared me to go out with the sad single dad from the coffee shop. I'm sorry. The restaurant around him blurred as tears filled his eyes. After 6 wonderful weeks together, the truth had shattered everything he thought they were building. But what happened next would change his life in ways he never could have imagined. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional true stories that will touch your heart. Your support means everything to us. The morning sun filtered through the blinds of Nathan Reynolds' modest 2-bedroom apartment as he fumbled with his tie. At 42, he still hadn't mastered the Windsor knot, something his late wife Elaine used to tease him about. 3 years since cancer took her, and some mornings the absence still felt fresh as yesterday. Dad! Have you seen my science project? 8-year-old Sophie's voice carried from her bedroom, tinged with the panic of a child who had spent weeks crafting a solar system model that now seemed to have vanished into its own black hole. Check under your bed, sweetheart, Nathan called back, abandoning the tie altogether and opting for an open collar. The elementary school where he taught 5th grade math didn't enforce a strict dress code anyway. Their morning routine was a well-choreographed dance of breakfast preparation, lunch packing, and last-minute homework checks. Nathan had gotten good at this, being both mother and father, though the learning curve had been steep and painful. Found it. Sophie emerged triumphant, Jupiter slightly askew but the model otherwise intact. Her smile, so much like Elaine's, made Nathan's heart ache in that bittersweet way he'd grown accustomed to. Great job, scientist. Now, breakfast is getting cold. As they ate, Nathan scrolled through emails on his phone, pausing at one from his sister Jen. Don't forget, dinner at our place Saturday. And yes, I'm inviting Rachel from my office. She's perfect for you. No excuses this time. Nathan sighed. The well-intentioned setups had become a regular occurrence from friends and family who worried about his solitary life. He'd been on exactly 4 first dates in 3 years. None had warranted a second. What's wrong, Dad? Sophie asked, her perceptive eyes catching his frown. Nothing important. Just Aunt Jen being Aunt Jen. He smiled, tucking the phone away. Ready for your presentation today? I guess. Sophie pushed her cereal around the bowl. I wish Mom could see it. Nathan reached across the table, squeezing her small hand. She can, sophomore. Just in a different way than we'd like. The Grind Daily was Nathan's sanctuary every afternoon after school. The small coffee shop 2 blocks from their apartment offered the perfect atmosphere for grading papers while Sophie attended her after-school art program next door. The owner, Hector, knew Nathan's order by heart, medium dark roast, room for cream, and always saved the corner table by the window. Looking sharp today, Professor, Hector called as Nathan entered, the familiar bell chiming above the door. Just a public school teacher, Hector. Nothing professorial about me, Nathan replied with a chuckle, settling into his usual spot. He was halfway through a stack of math quizzes when the bell chimed again. Nathan glanced up reflexively, then found himself unable to look away. The woman who entered moved with a quiet confidence, her dark curly hair falling just past her shoulders. She wore simple jeans and a blue sweater that matched her eyes, which briefly met his before she approached the counter. Nathan returned to his grading, though his concentration had evaporated. He could hear her ordering, "Chai latte, please," her voice warm and slightly husky. To his surprise, she approached his table after receiving her drink. "Excuse me," she said, "but is that Mrs. Peterson's 5th grade class work you're grading?" Nathan blinked in surprise. "Yes, actually." "How did you know?" She smiled, revealing a slight dimple in her right cheek. "I'm Vanessa Chen, the new art teacher at Westridge Elementary. I just started last week. I recognize Tommy's handwriting, he's quite the character in art class." "Nathan Reynolds," he replied, extending his hand. And yes, Tommy is energetic in math as well. Mind if I join you? Teacher solidarity and all that. She gestured to the empty chair across from him. For a moment, Nathan hesitated. He wasn't good at this anymore, casual conversation with attractive women. But something about her easy smile made him nod. Please, have a seat. Their conversation flowed effortlessly from school politics to favorite teaching moments. Nathan found himself laughing more than he had in months. Vanessa had moved from Seattle 3 weeks ago, was passionate about introducing children to diverse artistic traditions, and had a dry wit that caught him off guard in the best possible way. So, she said after they'd been talking for nearly an hour, I've seen you here a few times now. Always at this table, always grading papers with intense concentration. It's my little ritual, Nathan admitted. My daughter has art class next door until 5. You have a daughter? Vanessa asked, her expression warm with interest rather than the polite retreat he'd grown accustomed to when mentioning Sophie. Sophie. She's 8 going on 30. He smiled, pulling out his phone to show a recent photo of Sophie with her science project. She's beautiful, Vanessa said, studying the picture. She has your smile. Actually, that's her mother's smile, Nathan said quietly, then added, my wife passed away 3 years ago. He waited for the awkward pause, the pitying look. Instead, Vanessa simply nodded. That must be incredibly difficult. For both of you. It has been, Nathan admitted. But we're finding our way. When Sophie bounded in 20 minutes later, paint smudged on her cheek and clutching her latest masterpiece, Vanessa engaged her immediately, asking thoughtful questions about her technique and color choices. Nathan watched in amazement as his normally shy daughter blossomed under the attention of this woman who spoke to her not as a child, but as a fellow artist. As they prepared to leave, Vanessa handed Nathan a slip of paper. My number, she said simply. In case you ever want to continue our conversation about the abysmal state of arts funding in public education. Nathan stared at the paper, momentarily speechless. Or for other reasons, she added with a smile, before waving goodbye to Sophie and walking out the door. She gave you her number and you haven't called her yet? Jen's exasperation carried clearly through the phone 3 days later. What are you waiting for? Nathan paced his small kitchen, keeping his voice low so Sophie wouldn't hear from the living room where she was watching TV. It's complicated, Jen. It's really not. You call. You ask her to dinner. You use complete sentences and try not to spill anything on yourself. See? Simple. What about Sophie? What about her? From what you told me, they already met and hit it off. Nathan, it's been 3 years. Elaine would want. Don't, Nathan interrupted. Don't tell me what Elaine would want. A heavy silence fell between them. I'm sorry, Jen said finally. That wasn't fair. But Nathan, you deserve happiness. Sophie deserves to see her father happy. After they hung up, Nathan found himself staring at Vanessa's number, saved but untouched in his phone. Before he could overthink it further, he typed a message, "This is Nathan from the coffee shop. I was wondering if you might like to have dinner sometime." He hit send before he could change his mind, then set the phone down as if it might burn him. To his surprise, it buzzed almost immediately. I'd love to. Friday at 7? There's a great Thai place on Maple Street. Nathan stared at the response, a smile spreading across his face. Friday at 7 sounds perfect, he replied. Their first date was nothing short of magical. The restaurant was cozy and dimly lit, the conversation as easy as it had been in the coffee shop. Vanessa told him about growing up in a traditional Chinese-American family in Portland, her decision to pursue art against her parents' wishes for medical school, and her gradual reconciliation with them when they saw her passion for teaching. Nathan shared stories about Sophie, his journey into teaching after a brief, soul-crushing stint in corporate accounting, and even found himself talking about Elaine, something he rarely did with anyone outside his immediate family. "She sounds like she was an incredible person," Vanessa said, her eyes soft with genuine interest. "She was," Nathan agreed. "The best part is seeing pieces of her in Sophie every day." As he walked Vanessa to her car, a light rain began to fall. Without thinking, Nathan slipped off his jacket and held it over her head. "Such a gentleman," she teased, but her eyes held something warmer than amusement. When they reached her car, she turned to face him. "I had a wonderful time, Nathan." "So did I," he said, suddenly nervous again. "Maybe we could do it again sometime?" "I'd like that very much." She rose slightly on her toes and kissed his cheek, her lips soft against his skin. "Call me." Nathan stood in the rain long after her car had disappeared around the corner, his cheek tingling where her lips had been, a forgotten feeling of possibility unfurling in his chest. Over the next 6 weeks, Nathan and Vanessa fell into a comfortable rhythm. They met for coffee after school, had dinner when Nathan could arrange for Sophie to stay with Jen or his parents, and texted throughout the day, funny observations about students, book recommendations, and increasingly, the small intimacies that mark the beginning of something significant. Vanessa met Sophie properly on their 3rd week of dating, taking them both to a children's art exhibition at the local museum. Nathan watched in wonder as Vanessa engaged his daughter, never talking down to her, genuinely interested in her opinions about the artwork. "I like her, Dad," Sophie confided that night as he tucked her into bed. "She doesn't treat me like I'm a baby." "I like her too, Soph," Nathan admitted. "Does that make you sad?" "Because of Mom?" Nathan sat on the edge of her bed, considering his answer carefully. "No, sweetheart. I'll always love your mom. That never changes. But I think our hearts can grow to love other people too." Sophie nodded solemnly. "Like how I loved Mr. Whiskers, but then when he died, I could still love Pancake." She referred to their previous cat and the tabby kitten they'd adopted 6 months ago. Nathan smiled at her simple wisdom. "Something like that, yes." As the weeks passed, Nathan found himself opening up in ways he hadn't since Elaine. He and Vanessa shared their first real kiss after a movie date, standing in the glow of the theater marquee. They talked about their hopes, their fears, their dreams for the future. For the first time in 3 years, Nathan allowed himself to imagine a life beyond just surviving day to day. "You're falling for her," Jen observed over lunch one Saturday while Sophie was at a friend's birthday party. "Is it that obvious?" Nathan asked, unable to suppress his smile. "You're practically glowing." "It's disgusting," his sister teased. "But I'm happy for you, Nathan. Truly." That evening, Nathan invited Vanessa over for dinner at their apartment, a significant step he hadn't taken with anyone since Elaine's death. He spent the afternoon cleaning, cooking Elaine's signature lasagna recipe, the only dish he could make with any confidence, and trying to calm his nerves. Sophie helped set the table, placing a small vase of flowers in the center that she'd picked from the community garden downstairs. "Do you think Vanessa will like the flowers, Dad?" "I think she'll love them," Nathan assured her, touched by his daughter's eagerness to welcome Vanessa into their home. Dinner was a success. Vanessa complimented the lasagna, admired Sophie's artwork displayed on the refrigerator, and even brought dessert, homemade almond cookies from her grandmother's recipe. After Sophie went to bed, they sat close together on the couch, talking in low voices and sharing occasional soft kisses. "Thank you for tonight," Vanessa said as she prepared to leave. "For inviting me into your home, your life." Nathan took her hand, suddenly serious. "Vanessa, these past weeks have been. I haven't felt this way in a long time. I just want you to know that this means something to me." "You mean something to me." She touched his face gently. "You mean something to me too, Nathan. More than you know." As he closed the door behind her, Nathan leaned against it, a sense of contentment washing over him. For the first time since losing Elaine, the future didn't look like an endless gray road stretching before him. It held color and possibility again. The following Friday, Nathan arranged for Sophie to stay overnight with his parents so he could take Vanessa to a nice restaurant downtown, the kind of place with cloth napkins and a wine list longer than the menu. He wore his best suit, the one he'd bought for job interviews and hadn't worn since Elaine's funeral. He even mastered the Windsor knot in his tie, imagining Elaine's approving smile. Vanessa looked stunning in a simple black dress, her curly hair swept up to reveal the elegant line of her neck. Throughout dinner, Nathan found himself staring at her in wonder, hardly believing that this vibrant, intelligent woman was interested in him, a widowed single father with a mortgage and a minivan. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, catching him watching her. "Just that I'm the luckiest man in this restaurant," he replied honestly. Her smile faltered slightly, a shadow passing across her face so quickly he almost missed it. "Nathan, there's something I should." She was interrupted by the arrival of their dessert, and the moment passed. By the time they finished their chocolate soufflé, the conversation had moved on to plans for the upcoming school art fair. Later, as they walked along the riverfront, hand in hand under the stars, Nathan felt a certainty settle in his chest. He stopped, turning to face her. "Vanessa, I know it's only been 6 weeks, but I need you to know something." He took a deep breath. "I'm falling in love with you." Her eyes widened, and for a moment, she didn't speak. Then she stepped forward, wrapping her arms around him tightly, her face pressed against his chest. "Oh, Nathan." He held her close, interpreting her response as reciprocation. When she finally pulled back, there were tears in her eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked, suddenly concerned. She nodded, wiping at her eyes. "Yes, I need to tell you something, but not here. Can we go somewhere more private?" A flicker of anxiety passed through him, but he nodded. "My place? My parents have Sophie for the night." 20 minutes later, they sat on Nathan's couch, a palpable tension between them that hadn't been there before. Vanessa twisted her hands in her lap, not meeting his eyes. "Whatever it is, you can tell me," Nathan said gently, though his heart was beginning to race with apprehension. "I haven't been completely honest with you," she began, her voice small. "About how I first noticed you at the coffee shop." Nathan frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" Vanessa took a deep breath. "I didn't just happen to notice you were a teacher that day. I already knew who you were." The confusion deepened. "I don't understand. My friend Melissa works at the elementary school office. She and some other teachers, they've talked about you. The single dad who lost his wife to cancer. They thought it was so sad, the way you never dated, how devoted you were to your daughter." She paused, visibly struggling. "One night, after too many drinks, they dared me to ask you out. They said I'd be perfect for the sad single dad from the coffee shop." The words hit Nathan like a physical blow. "A dare," he repeated, his voice hollow. "You approached me because of a dare?" "Yes," she admitted, tears now flowing freely. "But Nathan, that was only the beginning. Everything that happened after." Nathan stood abruptly, unable to process what he was hearing. "So our entire relationship is based on what? Pity? A joke among your friends?" "No." Vanessa stood too, reaching for him. "It started that way, yes, but it became real. What I feel for you is real." Nathan stepped back, avoiding her touch. "How can I believe that? How can I trust anything you've said or done?" "Because it's the truth," she pleaded. "I fell in love with you, Nathan. With your kindness, your strength, the way you love your daughter. I made a mistake in how this started, but my feelings are genuine." "And when were you planning to tell me this?" Nathan asked, his voice tight with hurt. "After we got more serious? After Sophie got attaché." As David concluded the training session, Emma stepped into the room with a smile. Their eyes met, and that familiar warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she'd come to cherish over these past months. "How did it go?" she asked, setting down 2 cups of coffee on his desk. "They're getting it," David replied, accepting the coffee gratefully. Though Henderson still thinks bowing is theatrical. Emma laughed. "He'll learn when he meets the Nakamura team in person next week." The office David now occupied had a wall of windows overlooking Manhattan, a far cry from the driver's seat where she'd first dismissed him. On his desk sat a framed photo of Sophia and another of a beautiful Japanese woman, Aiko, whose kind eyes seemed to approve of the new direction their lives had taken. "Sophia's school called," David said. "She won the multilingual poetry contest." "Again." "Of course she did," Emma said proudly. "She's extraordinary, just like her father." Their fingers brushed as she handed him a folder, and neither pulled away immediately. These small moments of connection had been happening more frequently lately, neither of them rushing to define what was growing between them. That evening, as they walked through Central Park with Sophia running ahead to feed the ducks, David turned to Emma. "You know, when you got into my car that rainy morning, I never imagined we'd end up here." Emma shook her head, smiling. "I was so focused on closing that deal, I couldn't see what was right in front of me, someone who would change my life in ways no business contract ever could." "Is that what I did?" David asked softly. "Change your life?" Emma stopped walking, turning to face him fully. "You showed me that success isn't measured in dollars or deals. It's measured in moments that matter, in connections that last." She took a deep breath. "You and Sophia have become the most important people in my life, David." His eyes softened as he reached for her hand. "And you've become ours." As the setting sun painted the Manhattan skyline in gold, Emma realized that the billion-dollar deal hadn't been her greatest achievement after all. Her greatest achievement was learning to see beyond appearances, beyond ambition, to the things that truly mattered: love, family, and the courage to let someone in. Sophia ran back to them, her laughter echoing across the park. "Are you two being mushy again?" she teased, her eyes twinkling with the wisdom of a child who sees everything. "Always," David replied, pulling his daughter into their embrace. And in that perfect moment, Emma knew she had finally found her home, not in corner offices or executive suites, but in the hearts of the unexpected family who had taught her the most valuable language of all: love.